also hope that you are having an amazing day so far. All right, so for today, we will be doing our our advanced writing lesson, right? Um, and we'll be doing our advanced writing lesson on writing clear and concise sentences. So we are doing advanced writing, but we are specifically doing writing clear and concise sentences. And the subject that we are focusing on today is English, which is language arts. The advanced writing clear and concise sentences, right, is in grade 9, right? So we're specifically going to the grade 9 class. And in the lessons that we are going to be focusing on is to use the correct pair of correlative conjunctions, identify sentences with parallel structures, and to use parallel structures. But before we do all of that, right, you're going to log into aplusstudents.ca. Once you've logged into aplusstudents.ca with your username as well as your password, and then we are going to select the subject of language arts. And then we go to grade 9. All right. So once we are at grade 9, you're going to scroll down the chapters up until you get to the chapter of writing clear and concise sentences. So we already started doing the lesson on writing clear and concise sentences, and we did the transitions with conjunctive adverbs as well as to avoid double illogical and unclear comparisons. That is what we did already. But today, right, our lessons that we are going to be focusing on is to use the correct pair of correlative conjunctions, to identify sentences with parallel structure, and to use parallel structure. That is going to be our focus lessons for today. All right. So before we go into our lessons, right? So I literally read all of these already. And our tutorial lesson is on aplusstudents.ca, right? So if you want to log in, we are on aplusstudents.ca, and there you will be able to follow as well as do the necessary activities, right? All right, so now our first lesson is to use the correct pair of correlative conjunctions. And before we go into that, before we or when we write sentences, right? Remember, we said a complete sentence has a subject, has an action, right? That is a complete sentence, right? So, in order for us to write clear and concise sentences, It means that we need to have our subjects, we need to have our objects, right, in its correct places. All right. So if we now go to the first lesson that says use the correct pair of correlative conjunctions. And conjunctions, it joins words or joins sentences. So correlative conjunctions are conjunctions used in pairs. And they are used to show a relationship between two equal parts of a sentence, such as, right, two nouns or two verb phrases. So correlative conjunctions are conjunctions used in pairs, and they are used to show a relationship between two equal parts of a sentence, such as either two nouns or two verb phrases. And some common correlative conjunctions are both or and. Oopsie. It is not only, or we can say but also. Um, it is neither nor, either or, whether or, and we can say if or then. So correlative conjunction, right? It's conjunctions that is used in pairs. And we made a few example of the pairs. And they used to show a relationship between these two equal parts, right, of a sentence. And we said it can either be two nouns or two verb phrases. And once again, some of the common correlative conjunctions are both or and most times we use and, not only, but also, neither or nor, either or, whether or, and we can also use if or then. And the correlative conjunctions both and not only, but they also are used to connect two things that are each true. For example, if we look at an example, both Natalie and I play the piano. So both Natalie and I play the piano. Tammy not only directed the show, but also wrote the music. And that is two examples, right, of correlative conjunctions. And like I said, the most common conjunction is probably and, or, but, so, right? That is the most common conjunctions. So both Natalie and I play the piano. And like I say, and is basically the most common conjunction used. And then Tammy not only directed the show, but also wrote the music. So which means that we used not only but also. All right. So now we're going to continue, but we are going to a plus students.ca. So we're going to a plus students.ca. So we are going to a plus students.ca. Sorry. So we are now by use the correct correlative conjunction. So in order for us to use the correct correlative conjunction, right, we said it is basically where the conjunctions are used in pairs, right? And we said the most common one that we mainly use is and, right? So it's either you say both or you say and, right? And is usually the most common one that we use. So correlative conjunctions are junctions or conjunctions that is used in pairs, right? And with it being used in pairs, they are used to show a relationship between two equal parts of a sentence, such as two nouns, or two verb phrases. And some of the common correlative conjunctions are both or and. Like I said, and is even more common. Not only, but also, right? We just usually say but, neither, nor, either, or, whether, or, and if, or then. So that is the most common correlative conjunctions that are being used, right? And the correlative conjunctions, right, both and both or and not only but also are used to connect two things that are true to each other. So the correlative conjunctions, which is both or and, as well as not only or but also, are used to connect two things that are each true. And we made an example of both Natalie and I played the piano. So there we have both that shows the relationship, and there we have and that joins that two nouns. So which means that both Natalie and I. That two nouns are being joined. We play the piano. And then we have another one. This is now how we are now basically going to go over the examples of each of the pairs, right? And how it's being used within a sentence. Tammy not only directed the show, but also wrote the music. So basically, Tammy not only directed the show, but also wrote the music. So that is how we use not only or but also. And if we use neither or nor, then we can say the correlative conjunctions neither or nor are used to connect two things that are each untrue. So the correlative conjunction, which is neither or nor, are used to connect two things that are each untrue. So it's like you are saying neither this nor that, right? Neither that answer nor that specific one. So it basically connects two things that are each untrue. So that is how we use neither or nor, right? It basically shows that two things are each untrue. For example, neither Ryan, right, nor Emma has been to Canada. So if they say they've been there, then it's basically untrue. That is why we say neither one of them, neither Ryan nor Emma, has been to Canada. All right. So now or, either or. The correlative conjunction either or are used to connect two possibilities or choices. So if you are either trying to connect two possibilities or two choices, right? And you want to express, no, first, okay, let's first start with the two possibilities or the choices, right? Then we use either or we use or. And that is used to connect possibilities, two possibilities, and two choices. And an example is either, we said either or. So either Alyssa will answer the phone or it will go to voicemail. So it's either she's going to do it, there's a possibility, right? That is where the possibility or the choice is coming. So it's either Alyssa will answer the phone, meaning there's a possibility, or it will go to voicemail. Or there's a possibility it might go to voicemail. And that is how we use the correlative conjunction and either or. Whether or. The correlative conjunctions whether, or do we say or, are used to connect two possibilities or choices, and it expresses some uncertainty about which is true. So it is used to connect two possibilities or to connect choices and to express some uncertainty about which is true. And an example is I'm not sure whether Brian or Sonia borrowed my book, meaning there's a possibility that either Brian or Sonia borrowed my book. And here we have an example, right? We said, I'm not sure whether Brian or Sonia borrowed my book. And then if we use if or then we say the correlative conjunctions if or then are used to connect a condition with its consequence. Its condition with its consequence. So the correlative conjunction if or then are used to connect a condition with its consequence. For example, if this map is correct, then Miss Perez's directions are inaccurate. So if this map is correct, then Miss Perez's directions are inaccurate. And then it basically shows that so if we use if and then, it is basically either showing a some form of condition with its consequence. It's either showing some form of condition with its consequence. All right. So now let's go to all right. So now we're going to do an activity. It says each of the three angles in a triangle measures less than 90 degrees. That triangle is considered accurate. Acute. We need to choose one of the common correlative conjunctions. You basically need to use the pairs to complete the sentence with the better correlative conjunctions. So, each of the three angles in a triangle measures less than 90 degrees. That triangle is considered acute. All right. So, which means that if we look at our activity, right, it says each of the three angles in a triangle measures less than 90 degrees. So, we are going to choose if and then. Then we say if So we say if each of the three angles in a triangle measures less than 90 degrees, then that triangle is considered acute. So if and then, that is our correlative conjunctions that are used in pairs. So if each three angles in a triangle measures less than 90 degrees, then that triangle is considered acute. The sting of the box jellyfish is extremely painful, deadly. We need to check the correlative conjunction. So the sting of the box jellyfish is extremely painful, deadly. The venom of the sea creature is considered to be one of the most dangerous in the world. So we need to choose the correct one. So if we choose the correct one, we're going to say that the sting of the jelly box is, we can say it is both extremely painful and deadly. And that is our correlative conjunction. All right. Urban agriculture is flourishing in cities around the United States. City dwellers are producing crops, raising livestock. Many once vacant lots are now home to herb and vegetable gardens, as well as goats, chickens, and beehives. All right, so we say urban agriculture is flourishing in cities around the United States. City dwellers are, we can say, not only, so we're going to say it is not only producing crops, but also it is raising livestock. And in many once vacant lots are now home to herb and vegetable gardens, as well as goats, chickens, and beehives. All right, so now let's go to our test. Let's go to our test. All right. So we need to complete the sentence with the better correlative conjunction. Do we say if scientists succeed in growing meat from animal stem cells, then perhaps livestock will no longer be raised in factory farm conditions. All right. So we're going to say if scientists succeed in growing meat from animal stem cells, then perhaps livestock will no longer be raised in factory farm conditions. And if and then is correct. All right, so now we're looking at the next one. It says, a study conducted in 2013 found that, do we say if people spend a lot of time browsing or whether people spend a lot of time browsing on the internet, browsing social network sites? They tend to feel more envious of others. So if we were to choose between if and then, or we choose between whether or. So we can say then a study conducted in 2013 found that if people spend a lot of time browsing social networking sites, then they tend to feel more envious of others. All right. So if and then is correct. Moving along. Urban agriculture is flourishing. So urban agriculture is flourishing in cities around the United States. City dwellers are, do we say, not only producing crops, but also raising livestock, right? And many one vacant lots are now home to herb and vegetable gardens as well as a goat, a chicken, and beehives. So urban agriculture is flourishing in cities around the United States, and city dwellers are, all right. So if we choose the correct one, we can say urban agriculture is flourishing in cities around the United States. City dwellers are not only producing, not only producing crops, but also raising livestock. So many once or vacant lots are now home to herb and vegetable gardens as well as goats, chickens, and beehives. So it's not only but also. All right. All right. So that is the lesson on using the correct pair of correlative conjunction. Now we're going to identify sentence with parallel structures. Identifying sentences with parallel structures. And what does that specifically mean? So when two or more words or phrases or even clauses are joined by coordinating conjunction to find either series or those elements, right? Then it must be parallel in structure. And parallel elements have the same grammatical functions within a sentence. And an example is the community center is a hub of activity and well equipped for meetings. And the community center of is a hub of activity and a well equipped meeting space. So you can either say it is for meeting or you can say it is a meeting space, right? And for joined verb phrases, right, each phrase must contain its own helping or model verb. Or the initial helping or model verb must apply to all of the phrases. And for joined verb phrases, each phrase must contain its own helping and model verb, like we say, or the initial helping or model verb must apply to all of the phrases. So, for example, Sarah will order the flowers, pick up the decorations, and might help us set up. All right. So, in this case, right, it basically tells us that Sarah will order flowers. She then has to pick up the decoration and she's going to help set up, right? So, we need to say which sentence or sentences have correct parallel structures. So we said parallel structures is when two or more words or clauses are joined by coordinate conjunction to form a series. Those elements must be parallel in structure. And parallel elements have the same grammatical function within the sentence. And if we look at how these two sentences are parallel in structure, right, we can say the community center is a hub activity and well equipped for meetings. And then the second element is not a noun phrase. And then the second one is the community center is a hub activity and well equipped meeting space. Both elements are noun phrases. All right. And remember, we said that for joined verb phrases, each phrase must contain its own helping or modal verb, or the initial helping or modal verb must be applied to all of the phrases. All right, let us do our test on identifying sentences with parallel structures. Which sentence or sentence have the correct parallel structure? Because I have to be at hockey practice by 6 a.m., my morning ritual includes jumping. So it is either because I have to be at hockey practice by 6 a.m., my morning ritual includes jumping out of bed, taking a shower, a quick shower, and grabbing breakfast on the go, or because I have to be at hockey practice by 6, my morning ritual includes jumping out of bed, taking a quick shower, and I grab breakfast on the way. Right? We can then go for the first one. It has a correct parallel structure. All right. So that is basically it on the using the correct pair of correlative conjunctions. And we said using the correlative conjunctions, right? We have almost like words that are paired up, right? Like example, both and, right? And those are conjunctions, right? That either joins either a noun or noun phrases or even a verb phrase. And then we had to identify the sentences with the parallel structure. All right, so high school learners, that is the end of our lesson on writing clear and concise sentences. You should have a good day further. Goodbye.